We're back at it. Episode 4. Welcome back, everybody. The Boxer Briefs podcast. We are your hosts. I am the Wild Man.
I'm Cole.
And we are happy to be back. It's been a huge week and a half in boxing, Coles. A lot of big fights. Another huge weekend coming up. I'm excited. Can't wait to talk about it. We got a lot to talk about. Plus, we got a special guest on later in the show. It's a big week for us.
Sure is, Wild Man. I'm pretty excited. It's a big week for America. Only in America. We got the vaccines rolling out to the frontline workers. I'm excited about it. I know you're excited about it. So good things to come.
It's a big week for boxing. It's a big week for medicine. And just remember, just last week I injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick.
I'll stay away from you.
Bet you didn't think I was busting that one out, did you?
Not tonight.
All right, so 2 weeks ago, Errol Spence got back in the ring with none other than Danny Garcia. Spence improved to 27-0. I thought he picked up right where he left off. You know, we hadn't seen him in over a year. He's lucky to have his life. He's made that, very evident. We're happy he's still here, obviously. And he put on a show. He looked sharp. He looked comfortable. And he looked like he had only been out of the ring for a month, let alone a year.
Yeah, a young man like he is was able to bounce right back after that horrific accident. And he was fighting against a very game Danny Garcia. So he didn't come back into the ring and fight some tomato can. He came back and was fighting one of the elite in the welterweight division. So this is only signs for good things to come in the welterweight division. Let's see Spence Crawford. Let's see Spence Pacquiao. One of these big fights. Let's see it in May. Let's just go ahead and let's get it on, in the words of Mills Lane.
May. I want to see March. Let's get things rolling. 2021, we got a big year ahead of us. I want to see these guys getting going early, but no, I completely agree with you. We need to see, boxing needs to see, the world needs to see Spence Pacquiao, Spence Crawford. I think eventually all roads have to lead to Spence Crawford, and for both of their legacies. And I don't think either of them can really shy away from it. They know those roads have to cross, and they're going to have to get there. And we hope it's next year, because boxing really needs that fight. I think it would be great for the sport. I think it would be great for the world just to see it. And those are two prize fighters going head to head, and I think that's what we want to see. But Spence improved to 27-0. Obviously fought a very game Danny Garcia. I think the outcome was pretty much what we expected. Garcia was not going to go down. He's a hard-headed guy. He was going to take a lot of punishment, be able to dish out some good shots, and he did. But Spence obviously got the better of him and looked very comfortable in there. So hats off to Errol. Glad he's back. Glad he's doing well. And can't wait to see what 2021 has for him, because I think it's going to be a huge year.
Absolutely.
This past weekend, we had a couple heavies getting in there. Anthony Joshua putting his 4 belts on the line against your favorite Bulgarian, Kubrat Pulev. What happened there?
Wildman, when you presented the fight to me and told me he was fighting Kubrat Pulev, and that he was 39 years old, I immediately knew what the outcome was going to be. It was just another one of those examples where we have a big-name fighter like Anthony Joshua fighting, a formidable fighter in Pulev, but we knew it was going to be a Joshua victory. Wasn't an exciting fight at times. He almost knocked him out in the 3rd round. And went on to knock him out later in the fight. Would we have liked to see it in a little bit more fantastic fashion? Yeah, I would have liked to see him dispose of him more easily given the fact that Joshua is supposed to be a superior fighter to Pulev.
Agreed. You know, like you said, Pulev, 39 years old. We know his best years are behind him. His only loss coming into this was to Klitschko. He's beaten Huey Fury. He's had some decent fights, but I think we were expecting the outcome, and we got the outcome that we were expecting. He's been the mandatory for Joshua for a while now for one of his belts, and you knew it was just one of those stepping stone fights that kind of had to happen for formality purposes. But yeah, it's going to get us entertained and it's going to get us to tune in. There's no doubt about it, but it's not the fight we want to see. I got to give Pulev some credit, though. I mean, he did give his best Pat Benatar impression and allow Anthony Joshua to hit him with his best shot, fire away. I seem to count at least 3,900 uppercuts that all landed cleanly on the chin and throat region of Kubrat Pulev. And the announcers had quite a field day by saying he's not even trying to block these uppercuts. He's just allowing them to come in. And
I think he was blocking them with his chin,
that's correct.
if I recall correctly.
That's correct. I believe he had so much faith in his jaw structure that he thought he could.
He did have a pronounced jaw structure.
Phenomenal jaw structure. Not taking any of that away from him. But I think if he was to go back and do this fight again and watch some film, he may try to avoid those uppercuts in some shape or form. Nevertheless, this is going to lead us to what we hope early next year is AJ Fury. AJ didn't sound too keen on fighting Fury.
Yeah, I mean, AJ basically was saying boxing is action, boxing is not talk after the fight. But if you want to talk action in terms of body language, he was not very convincing that he wanted Tyson Fury. And meanwhile, Tyson Fury sitting on his couch in an ugly sweater, just with his feet up, probably drinking a beer, calling out AJ. So we know who's more confident going into this fight. AJ certainly has the talent. He has the Adonis physique. He has the knockout power. He has boxing ability. But oftentimes, as we've seen in the past with a guy like Muhammad Ali coming in and fighting big, strong guys like George Foreman or Sonny Liston, it's the more confident fighter who believes in themselves that's going to prevail.
Yeah, agreed. Joshua did not show me much after that fight in the post-fight interview about him wanting to unify the title against Tyson Fury. He said it was about legacy, and sure, he wants the belts, but it's not about opponents. Well, guess what? It is about opponents, because if you want it is Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is still the lineal champ, and I don't think he wants any of that smoke. And quite frankly, I do sincerely think Fury would do a number on Joshua. If he fights any way he did in that second Wilder fight against Joshua, I think Joshua is in for a world of hurt, and I think he knows it. Nevertheless, I'm not taking anything for granted. Joshua's can punch like dynamite. So I think it would be a great fight for fans, and I really hope we can see that early next year. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a sequel to it as well later next year, but I'm hoping we get to see that soon. We had another up-and-comer fight this past weekend who put on a clinic. Shakur Stevenson moved up to super feather, vacated his belt, and moved up to super featherweight, improved to 15-0 against none other than Toka Khan. Toka Khan, move your body, Toka Khan. Move your body, that's all I want to do.
All right, I can get into that. I like what I'm hearing.
Move your body, that's all I want to do. Who was a very game opponent, but he only hit Shakur Stevenson with 9% of his punches. Only 9% landed against Shakur Stevenson in a 10-round fight. That's unheard of.
That's incredible.
I mean, this guy is just like a human cheat code in there on defense.
Yeah, maybe Stevenson should be coming out to Chaka Khan because he was the one who was moving and not being hit. So Stevenson is obviously the premier fighter in his division, moving up and leaving his belt behind in order to showcase his talents at a higher weight, much the way Lomachenko had done, moving up in weight and clearing the weight class. I don't see Stevenson having too much trouble doing that in this weight class. But we should see that there are some formidable opponents who he is going to have to face off against. So obviously a really impressive performance, but another instance of a guy that we just want to see more in bigger fights.
I agree with you. I think 2021 again is going to be a big year for him too. What I like about him is he starts off strong. He comes out. He's fast. He's young, and he comes out ready to dance. And that's what I like about him. He's a straight-on guy. He can work angles as well. He's got power. He's got crazy speed. His defense is impregnable. I think that this guy is a serious threat for the future. And Toka Khan, not taking anything away from the guy. Completely game opponent. He's a fighter. He lasted the whole fight in there. He took some serious punishment and would not give up. So hats off to him. Great performance. One tough dude, no doubt about that. But agreed. Want to see some bigger names for Shakira coming up, and hope we can continue to watch him grow. Before that fight, we actually had a pleasure of what I would call fight of the weekend, and I'm sure you would.
Absolutely.
Too. Masayoshi Nakatani, who was 18-1 coming to this fight. His only loss was a unanimous to Teofimo Lopez. Had never been dropped, and took on Felix Verdejo, who had only had one loss at this point in his career. Felix Verdejo has made it very clear he wants to be the next premier Puerto Rican fighter. He wants to carry on that legacy of the Cottos and everyone else. And he got Nakatani down twice super early. I believe it was the first and the third. And Nakatani did not even flinch. The guy kept coming back out completely game. And, it was like the record skipped and just kept playing. It were just bumps in the road for him. And he came out and scored a 9th round knockout against Verdejo, which was completely, in my eyes, unforeseen.
Yeah, I'm on board with you. This was definitely the fight of the weekend. Two guys with names, but certainly not the biggest names over the course of the weekend. And I think as fight fans, this is really something to be looking out for, is that two evenly matched opponents. They don't have to be the absolute best or considered to be the absolute best, because you and I know sometimes that's just hype. But Nakatani certainly near the top of the division with his only loss to Teofimo Lopez. And Verdejo is very confident in the ring, bless you. And with a knockdown in the first, he got right up. He was knocked down in the third. He was staggered in the 8th, and he went on to a 9th round knockout victory. So Nakatani's a guy I'm going to be following going forward. Hats off to Verdejo, who also fought a very, very good fight, knocking him down twice and staggering him once, but still was not enough to beat Nakatani.
Yeah, I agree with you. One thing I'd like to point out about Nakatani is he fractured his orbital bone in that fight, and again, didn't skip a beat, kept fighting. We saw about 2 weeks ago, Daniel Dubois fractured his orbital bone and had to take a knee and give himself up for the rest of the fight. But Nakatani kept going, and he was taken to the hospital right after the fight, but he finished it with a KO, and that's that fighting spirit. So hats off to him. Definitely look forward to seeing him get in the ring again. And obviously that division is tons of names right now swimming around with, Lopez and Lomachenko and Haney and Davis, Garcia. But I hope down the road we might be able to see a Nakatani-Lopez rematch, because I think it could be pretty exciting. Do want to give a quick shout out to our boy Takari Scott, the Mack truck, who we had on last week. Really happy for him, proud of him. He fought last weekend as well, and he improved to 4-0. He had an awesome TKO first round against Donald Pierce. Showed us some good stuff. Went to the body, went to the head, moved around a bit. just completely dominated. And,
Mhm.
I think that kid's, the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah. So, I think they're probably going to struggle to find opponents that are going to be able to hang with him at his level. I mean, he's working his way up to be fighting the elite guys in the division. But there's a lot of fighters who just don't want to fight a knockout artist like he is. And when he knocks these guys out, they've been hit by a Mack truck. So going forward, it's going to be difficult. But once he breaks into that elite, it's going to be great. I'd love to see him against a guy like Ruiz, another bigger guy. But I feel like Takari has a little bit better movement than Ruiz, wants to take it to the body. And I can see him taking Ruiz to the later rounds sometime next year.
That would be awesome. I think that would be a slugfest. And I think I agree with you. I think Takari's got great movement, and he's only going to get better. He's still so young. So I think that's going to be a big year for him next year. He's supposed to be getting back in the ring at the end of January. So we will keep our listeners updated on that. So you can check him out. But again, congrats to Takari Scott, the Mack truck, 4-0. Pumped for you. This weekend, we got two big ones. We got Triple G at 38 years old, 40-1, fighting against Kamil Szermeta, who's 21-0 right now for the IBO and IBF middleweight titles. I think Triple G needs a statement victory in this fight. I'm not talking unanimous decision. I'm not talking take some punishment and split decision. I'm talking early to mid-round knockout. Take it back to, your 2017, your 2018 Triple G, even before that. And we need to see some devastating body shots and head shots that just make Kamil Szermeta give it up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be on the edge of my seat from the beginning to the end of the fight, regardless of the outcome. Triple G, whenever he fights, he's one of those guys. It's like can't miss TV. And for so many years, he was just knocking everybody out, knocking them out to the body, knocking them out to the head. Started to have to fight more difficult opponents because guys finally felt like they could step in the ring with him after he was turned 36. Up until that point, he was just highly avoided. So fighting a guy like Daniel Jacobs, and then the whole Canelo debacle, where Triple G certainly feels as though he had won both of those fights. And then his last fight, where I believe Triple G does not feel like he won the fight, and some of his body language in the ring spoke to the fact that he felt like Derevyanchenko had won the fight, but they had given it to Triple G. So now that he's had the opportunity to process all this stuff, where he had some difficult things that happened in his career that weren't necessarily his fault, now it is time for him to come back in, take care of business, and be on the road to Canelo Triple G 3.
I agree with you, and I do apologize. I misspoke earlier. Triple G is 41-1. I apologize. I left out that draw, but I'm hoping he improves that win record to 41 and continues to extend his streak of middleweight title defenses, because it's been an impressive one, and I'm not ready to see it end. And I want to see it continue against Canelo in that trilogy fight. So fingers crossed that we can see that next year as well, and hoping Triple G can have a good fight this weekend and make a statement win so the fans can get what they want. Speaking of that trilogy fight.
Triple G is 41-1-1.
That is correct.
Yeah, had one draw, one loss.
That's correct. Also this weekend, speaking of the trilogy, Canelo, coming in at 53-1-2 at 30 years old, is taking on Callum Smith, who's 27-0. First off, before I get into anything, this is for a super middleweight belt. There is a 7-inch height difference between these two guys, and it is a huge gap when you see the two face off. I just saw it earlier today, and I was shocked how drastic it was. I knew there was a height difference, but you really don't think how big it is until you actually see them face to face and realize how much Canelo actually has to look up to Callum Smith.
Canelo's what, 5'7"?
He's 5'8". They list him at 5'8", and Callum is around 6'3", 6'4". Callum is a tall 6'3", 6'4", though. He's tall, he's long, and he's got some knockout power. I believe he's got around 19 knockouts, so he's got some power in him as well. And I don't think this is going to be a walk in the park for Canelo. I do anticipate a Canelo victory, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as some people think.
Yeah, I mean, Callum really has to fight to his strengths. We know most governing bodies have Canelo listed as the best pound for pound in the world. There's a few people out there who might not agree with that, chiefly probably Triple G. What did you say?
And us.
And us, yeah. So yeah, I'd have a few guys listed ahead of him as well. But that is not to say that every fight he doesn't get in there and give 100% effort. He's powerful. He's fast. I think the question is that can Callum's length compete with Canelo's speed? We both know that both guys are powerful, but speed kills, and if he can get inside of that big reach, Callum's going to be in for a long or a short night. Yeah,
I agree with you. I think that Canelo is one of the more masterful guys at the counterpunch, which we've seen, especially in recent years. He's even improved it a lot, and I think that Callum Smith is going to really have to use that length to his advantage, but he's going to have to pick his shots very carefully because obviously Canelo is not afraid to come inside and work the body and try to flatten the tire. So I really hope that Callum is able to get his jab going a little bit and keep Canelo at bay, and we could see a pretty decent fight if he's able to. This is definitely probably going to be one of the bigger, if not the biggest, height differences for Canelo.
His career, yeah.
So yeah. I'm excited to see it. I think it's going to be a great weekend for boxing between Triple G and Szermeta and then Canelo and Smith. I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Big weekend, obviously. Both can't miss fights. Obviously, the two guys are fighting on the same weekend. You'd like to see them fighting each other, but we can hold off on our hopes a little bit longer and just enjoy those two bouts on Friday and Saturday night.
Agreed. Well, I think it's about that time that we bring on our special guest for the evening. We've been keeping the fans waiting. We are lucky enough to have in the house Bulletproof Brandon Glanton with us, the cruiserweight who has also fought at light heavy and heavyweight. He's got a great career going for him, and he's got another fight coming up later this month. So why don't we bring on Mr. Glanton and have a little chat and hear what he's got to say.
Let's do it.
All right, we'd like to welcome our guest this evening, Mr. Bulletproof Brandon Glanton, cruiserweight, 12-0, 10 knockouts, fighting out of Riverside, California. How you doing tonight, Brandon?
Well, man, feeling good. About to have some dinner. Great day of training, great week, great training camp, so everything's good.
You all ready for the holidays and trying to focus on your fight too?
Yeah, you know what? I get to spend my holidays in a bubble, so in the hotel room. So I'm good, man. It is what it is.
Don't have to worry about getting sick. I like it.
No, sir.
So what's training been like for you during the pandemic? Have you ever had any troubles with gyms being open or anything like that?
No, actually, both of my coaches own their gym, so when everything happened, we just put everybody else out of the gym, and we were able to train the whole time, stayed in shape. Kept the weight down, kept working. So we worked this whole year. We've been in a 51-week training camp. So by the time I fight, it will be a 51-week training camp. So it's good.
Good for you, man.
Got
And
a
you
chance to
were
squeeze in a fight, and squeeze in a fight in Mexico. So it's good. I can't complain.
where in Mexico did you fight?
Pátzcuaro, you know, Pátzcuaro, Mexico. It's right there in Michoacan.
Nice, nice. And so you were a defensive end in college, and then so you transitioned from a college football player to a pro fighter. Can you tell me a little bit about that transition?
Yeah, I just can I say I played football since I was 6, and I played all the way up at the collegiate level. Started in high school, got a chance to start at the collegiate level. It was a D2 school, so it wasn't the Pac-12, Big Ten, none of that D1 stuff. So, but it was at Albany State. It was good. I just realized I got to a certain point, and I knew that I wasn't gonna go pro. I knew that I didn't fit that cookie cutter molding that NFL players, especially at that position, are. So, I just kind of accepted it. But boxing kind of helped out in that. I spent one day in the boxing gym and said I'd never get back on the football field. So.
Well, I can sort of see how your football career has helped in boxing. Watching some of your films and stuff, I can see the low man wins and kind of pushing the guy back and getting up and under him. So
leverage, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So when did you? Sorry, go ahead.
Come again?
I was just going to ask when did you start boxing and how did you get into it?
Oh man, I was 21 years old, man, and I worked at Kmart at the time. I was Kmart loss prevention. We were in the off season, and a buddy of mine, he's a pro MMA fighter, and he worked at Kmart in the Garden Center, and it's part time. And he told me I should come to the gym and come check him out because he trained in a boxing gym, but he was an MMA fighter. So he just said, come and do a workout with him. And I told him I would, and he was like, nah, everybody says they're gonna come and they don't show up. So I showed up with him, and man, he was excited. I was excited, and walked down the steps, and I saw guys sparring and fighting, and I asked the coach obviously if I could try it, and he said no. He said you gotta wait 3 months before you can spar. You gotta wait your turn, and I didn't want to wait, so I told him, hey man, I'm a big guy. I'm sure I can handle these guys in here, and I was completely wrong.
So with your amateur career, you didn't get started till your early 20s then?
Yeah, I was 21, man, and I just stayed in it. I didn't do anything special except for hard work. I believe in the 10,000 hour theory 10,000 times. So, I showed up every day. Back then, we used to train at 8 in the morning. So I trained in the morning and, train again in the evening. I was just really, really hungry to learn and get better. I was excited.
No, that's great. You got involved with the World Series of Boxing, which a lot of people in the States don't know a lot about. Would you mind talking a little bit about that and how you got involved in it?
Yeah, so I actually got in 2014, I took second place behind Cam Awesome at a World Series tournament. I believe it was in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and that's what we were all competing for. The top two would be able to compete on this traveling World Series of Boxing team, and a lot of those guys would go on and be hopefully on the Olympic team if they were winning, and so that was the goal. I lost to Cam, but in doing that, I still made the team. So he was on one team, and I was on others like Team A, Team B, and he had his sets of fights, and I had mine. So it was a good opportunity to go over there and face tougher guys because, like you said, in the States, you don't really know much about it, but everywhere else, that's pro boxing. A lot of places don't have professional boxing. Like the United States is the mecca of boxing. So a lot of these guys may be pros on their country, but it doesn't count over here. So it's technically it's semi-pro boxing, but it's still amateur boxing. but you are fighting professional fighters. Those guys are elite. That's the best of the best. That's the top-notch guys. And, you know, 3-minute rounds, you will get hurt if you're not good at what you do. So.
I was able to take in one of your professional fights, the Tyrese Herndon fight, and I noticed he was following you a lot and eventually disqualified. Can you tell me a little bit what happened in that fight?
Well, you know what? I wasn't even supposed to fight that guy. I was supposed to weigh in at 190. I was supposed to fight a cruiserweight. Unfortunately, Mikey and Robert couldn't find an opponent that would take a fight on their notice. So they asked me, did I want to go up and fight a bigger guy? And I said, well, that's fine. We don't mind fighting big guys. A lot of times they're slower, they're clumsy. They rely on their size to intimidate, and he couldn't intimidate me. He was the A side in that fight, and he's a big ticket seller. And they thought that he was the real thing, but you know, when I saw him, I knew what it was. I saw the guy in the amateurs. I didn't get to fight him, but I knew that he had no chance. He couldn't take the pressure. He couldn't take the speed. And instead of laying down, he was looking for a way out and ended up trying to throw me over the top rope after choking me, hit me in the back, pounded on my neck. It was all types of stuff. But those are the types of fights where you grow from, because you never know what will happen, what a man will do when you're hitting him, when you're hurting him, when he panics, when his family's there, when his fan is there, his kids. You never know. So I feel like that was the best thing he could do.
Yeah, that's a good point. It brings me kind of back to the bite fight with Tyson, and you know, I could hear both sides of it. You know, when they interviewed him after, they said, you know, Holyfield, you know, used his head, and you know, he kind of resorted to the fact that, okay, I bit him. So in his eyes, he was doing the right thing, but now you have that experience being fouled in such a way that the other guy was DQ'd. That's something.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing, man. If the ref doesn't catch it, it doesn't count. So the better you are at headbutting, elbowing, stepping on southpaw feet or vice versa, you know, holding, you know, the better you are.
Right.
You're good. You look at Bernard Hopkins, he hit you with the third punch, 1, 2, 3, you know. So, hey, it is what it is. If the ref don't call it, it don't count.
Right.
So Holyfield was just good at what he did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned elbows too. I think I never realized it years back when I first started watching boxing how more common elbows were than I realized until you actually watch tape, watch it slowed down. And I don't want to say almost every fight, but a lot of fights, you completely miss it when you're watching it live on TV or at the fight. And when you slow it down, there's a lot of elbows being thrown in there. And I was actually surprised by that. Because you mentioned headbutts, which I've seen before. You know, you talked about guy trying to choke, hit you in the neck, move you over the rope. That type of stuff, I feel like it's a little bit sometimes more obvious. But the elbows, I was really surprised until I started watching a little bit more film slowed down, how more prevalent that is.
Absolutely. You get short guys like myself, or considered short in boxing, and they follow through all the way with the hook and they snatch it back. It's kind of like, I don't know if you watch basketball when, you know, when guys they get the ball and if you get clipped by the elbow, it is what it is.
That's the old Dennis Rodman move. He's going to get the rebound and he's going to get both guys next to him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's hey, like you said, if the ref's not seeing it, it's not happening.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned, you know, you had to fight a bigger guy. You've now fought professionally at heavyweight, light heavyweight, and cruiserweight. Have you found a home at cruiserweight? Are you still open to moving around? How did you kind of find that niche at cruiser where you are right now?
Hey, you know what? I learned in WSB that there's a reason there are weight classes, and I felt like I could compete with the bigger guys, and so that's what I do. Back in the amateurs, I qualified for the Olympic trials at super heavyweight and heavyweight, and we chose to go with heavyweight, which is cruiserweight in the pros, and been fine ever since. The problem is whether I'm at light heavy, cruiserweight, or heavyweight, they always consider me small. So we went ahead and tried to make light heavy, and we can make light heavy. We can do it. It's definitely some work, but it requires a lot of time, and we don't like to spend the training camp losing weight and staying down and dealing with cramps or just dehydration. So when we have adequate time, then light heavyweight, sure, we'd love to give it a run. Cruiserweight, I feel like, is a division that's pretty open. It was kind of like how 68 used to be, and they don't have a lot of big names there. It's a dangerous division, but it just doesn't have the fame that a light heavyweight or heavyweight or 147. It doesn't have that fame because there haven't been any stars there in a while. You can't name one champion at cruiserweight that Holyfield, beat, but he was the man. He took that division and was undisputed. And so I'm hoping to bring some popularity back to it. Of course, we definitely plan on moving up to heavyweight. If we can't do it at cruiserweight, can't get the attention, it's not doing what we needed to do. We'll, take a title and move on up. That's the end game. As far as fighting bigger men, I love to fight those big boys because I see a big target. So, like I said, a lot of guys call me small, but they forget, I was once 327 pounds. I'm a big man in a small package. So.
And that's what Usyk has done, correct? Is moved from cruiser to the pro, and now he's the mandatory for Joshua. So it's interesting how you can transition, and how your talents at a lighter weight brings all that speed up to the heavyweights where a lot of the guys can't move the way you can. And if you look back, traditionally guys like Dempsey or Marciano, those guys were around your weight in the 190 range, and they
the
were
best heavyweights of our time were small guys.
Because they could move.
Holyfield took the title at 208, I think it was. So the best heavyweights were small, man. Those numbers, those astronomical numbers doesn't faze me. It doesn't. We know we have to stay defensively sound. We have to be smart. A lot of guys my size, my weight, can't take their power up to that weight class with them, whether it be a guy going from 135 to 140, 140 to 147. They can't. The pressured fighters don't seem to take their power, so they try to stay in that realm. Fortunately, I was able to carry mine up, and I feel like when I touch you, I touch you.
So their power doesn't carry the way maybe yours does, where you could hang with the heavyweights that have a similar type of power. Yeah.
Yeah, you see, look at guys like Chocolatito. His power didn't really travel with him when he wanted to go up, and unfortunately he got hurt. So, it's a part of boxing. But if you're lucky enough to do the work and increase your power and carry it with you, then hey, by all means. But like I said, a lot of times pressure fighters can't move up because they're not able to carry that power. So, we'll get the job done.
You feel like that's what happened with Lomachenko as well with against Teofimo, or
maybe a little bit. I feel like it was more of Lomachenko felt like he was above Teofimo. I'm sure I didn't expect Teofimo to come out demanding respect like that. Agreed. He said he was going to do it, and he did it. He came out from the first round throwing missiles. So Lomachenko, with a bigger guy, he had to respect it. And you got to remember, Lomachenko, Teofimo walks around about 160, so he's a big guy. I didn't realize he was that big. So he was definitely throwing missiles, and Lomachenko, you just have to respect it. The problem is he respected it too long, and by the time he turned it on, it was too late. He was too far gone. That's why I think a rematch between those two, if he wants to keep that title, he better not you better not give Lomachenko a rematch because a guy like Lomachenko that's what he does. He learns, he adapts. He's a champion. He knows how to change. And at the end of the fight, Primo was getting hit with some monstrous shots. But like I said, it was already over.
Right. Yeah, definitely too little too late. And I agree with you. If he gives him that rematch, I think it's going to be a different story because I don't know what he did for the first half of the fight, but he gave him a lot of respect. And,
Primo can't fight
much.
going backwards. Yep. And when Lomachenko realized that, he stepped on it.
Yeah, I would have liked Lomachenko in a 15-round fight there. I said, I wish it'd be about 3 more rounds because I thought he was maybe gonna take him. But
you know what? Like I said, if that fight happens again, I could be wrong, but I strongly think that Lomachenko takes that by a landslide, just off of experience, off of being in there, and off of realizing this guy can't fight going backwards. He's catching this guy in those combinations. He's catching them with hard shots, and I just don't think Primo should chance that. I think he should stay champion. I think he should keep fighting and just not give Lomachenko. He didn't have a rematch clause. It's his fault.
Yeah.
I think Primo is going to be champion for a long time if he's smart. So.
Agreed.
Now, were you a big boxing fan before you started boxing at 21, or was it all?
You know what? My mom's husband at the time used to come to the house and he used to bring fight night with him. So the only thing I knew about boxing was keep pressing X. And every now and then he would watch it at the house, and I'd be like, man, it's not real. Those guys aren't really fighting. And he said, oh, yes, it is. So that was it. We used to have the boxing matches in college. We thought we were boxing. We were just fighting. Put on a pair of boxing gloves and no mouthpiece. So I never knew that I'd find a passion like that or boxing would find me, rather.
Were there certain guys that you've watched more film of than others that maybe you've tried to mimic their style a little bit? Has there been anybody that you've paid more attention to than others?
Yeah, when I first started boxing, my first coach, Fred Thomas, would tell me, you're 6 foot, you're a big guy, pretty quick. You're gonna have to move your head. At your weight, you're gonna fight guys taller than you, bigger than you. So you're gonna have to move your head. So he used to have me watching Mike Tyson all the time, Joe Frazier. He's just, the White Kwawi. We just moving their head, and he told me that because of my height and weight, I would have to be very, very defensive, and it kind of stuck. And as I grew, I started watching other guys, learning new things. Andre Ward, Triple G. Just Holyfield, a lot of Holyfield. So we were able to make a style that's my own. Do I need to box? Would I need to brawl, bang, assertive aggression, And, watching film helped me realize who I am. And then it allowed me to mold myself into my own fighter.
So you're 12-0, 10 knockouts. We've obviously seen your film and how talented you are. Do you feel like at this phase in your career, it is difficult to get some fights because the word is out a little bit, and that you're somebody who maybe some of the cruiserweights don't want to mess with?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think people are intimidated by my record because obviously, this is a professional. You look at some of the guys I fought, and like I said before, you should have beat those guys. You take those fights, they're all learning opportunities. Maybe this guy, you can knock this guy out, but you hit him with your best shot and he's still there. You got to do something else. You have to, or maybe this guy, he's sloppy, or maybe this guy, and he's lacking this or that. So you learn all these things with those guys. I believe the problem with getting fights is people see past those numbers. They see that in each of my fights, I have somehow damaged the individual. I have cut him, or I broke him down, or I never stopped punching, or I never got tired, or it's always something, you know, I took too many angles or whatever it may be. So I think they ignore the record. They look at what I'm actually doing. They look at how I'm unfazed by whatever's going on, or they see me get hit with a big shot and, you know, it's like a raindrop on a windshield. So you take all that into consideration. And I don't think a lot of guys want to step in there with that when I don't have a belt to offer. It's a more or less for a guy who wants to be champion, who wants to look at something other than the money. It's all risk, no reward, or it's all risk, low reward. You get into this fight, he kicks your ass, and then you get nothing for it. So,
Right.
you know, so it's an opportunity. I think once I have a title, or even a minor title, it gives guys something that they're willing to take the risk for. But as of right now, you know, they see this dangerous 200-pound man who can make 175 and he could be 220 and nothing changes. So you got to have something to offer these guys besides the money, because as you know, money runs out.
Right. So they look at you as a problem. They say this guy's going to be a
problem,
problem for me. So let's
Right.
look in another direction. And you know, we watch a lot of boxing, and we see that, you know, so much. I mean, the Joshua fight, he's fighting a guy who's 39 years old and is kind of stiff in there, and you know he doesn't necessarily see a problem with him, but he sees a problem with Tyson Fury. So
Absolutely.
that's
a big 6'9" problem. Yeah.
I see a lot of
who can
problems
move.
for just about anybody with him.
Now you mentioned you linked up with a great promotion. You're with Mikey Garcia Promotions. How did you meet Mikey, and how did you get involved with that team?
Oh man. So I was actually training in Atlanta, and I felt like my career not necessarily came to a standstill, but it wasn't moving along as fast as I wanted. And by that time, I had already, you know, been to Vegas. I lived in Vegas for about a year and a half. I you know, lived in Canada for a little while. So I'm back home, and you know, obviously I'm a fighter at the time, but I'm still a fan of boxing. You know, because
Sure.
like I said, I started at 21. So you know, some of my favorite trainers out in California, but one that stood out to me was Robert. And I'm the type of guy, I'll shake trees. If I want something, I'm gonna find a way to get it. I reached out to a couple of guys on his team and didn't get the response I wanted. So I reached out to a guy, and he's actually Robert's friend. Yeah. So I actually thank him every day. I won't say his name because I don't know if he wants to be out there like that. But yeah, I thank him because he actually told Robert that I was interested, and I guess, you know, Robert or maybe his son looked at footage and they said, yeah, if he's willing to come out here, let's see what he got. And I just wanted to meet my favorite trainer, and hopefully that he would ask him take a chance on me. You know, I didn't really think that it would blow up like this, but I took a chance, and I felt like Robert and I could be a great team. I could learn a lot from him, and I like the guys that he trains, and the styles are similar. So I went out there, and you know, I got my shot, and he said, hey, you know what? I think I got a cruiserweight. So that was it. As far as Mikey, you know, at the time I knew about Mikey and I followed him. I didn't know anything about his promotion. I think at the time he was still building it.
Yep.
And so I was in the ring shadow boxing, and you know, Mikey came in and he was just watching. And you know, I wasn't starstruck. You know, he's a good guy. Never been that guy to be starstruck over another man. But you know, it was nice to have him giving me pointers. So he said that I should jab more. And it's, you know, we were just shadow boxing, and I guess he might have saw me spar and heard about it or something. But he asked me who I was signed to. I wasn't signed to anybody. You know, I'm just here. And I told him why I came. And he asked me what I was doing after training. I told him just nothing, probably go to the movies. And he was like, what, by yourself? I was like, yeah, I'm in California. Like, I don't know anybody. He was like, "No, come to my house, let's talk." So he invited me up and had a long talk with me and a couple of other guys and told me his vision. And man, it's been great ever since. You know, we had a little slowdown with COVID, but you know, Mikey has driven my career well, you know, beyond my first 3 fights. But it's been great. You know, he shared a lot of things with me, gave me a lot of insight. You know, give me no reason not to trust him. He's kept his word. He's been good to me, so it's been a blessing.
Yeah, he's definitely a well-respected guy, and he's one of the biggest names now in boxing. So
For sure.
you're absolutely right. That's a blessing. You got linked up with him, and you know
Right,
that's a great
after a
story.
while. I
That's
was
a
like,
great
all
story
right,
too.
let's do it.
I like your persistence. That's a great story. How you just you went out and got what you wanted, and you kept talking to people
Oh
until you
yeah,
found the right person. That's the way to do it.
oh yeah. If I win, I'm gonna get it for sure.
I like hearing that. How'd you get the nickname Bulletproof? By the way, I wanted to ask you that in the beginning, but
You know what? Bulletproof. It started because, like I said, I've been there with some of the hardest punches in the world. You know, Sergey Kovalev, Artur Beterbiev, you know, Michael Seals, Chris Ariota, so many guys. Stavern, you know, Joseph Parker, a lot of champions, and I've been hit so hard, and it hasn't phased me yet. So, you know, as far as my boxing, sparring, and fights, I've only ever touched the canvas once. So, you know, I kind of took on the name Bulletproof. People say, man, that guy's bulletproof. He can't, you know. But now, you know, Bulletproof is not so much just about the punches. It's about living a bulletproof lifestyle. You know, clean lifestyle. You know, drugs and alcohol. Um, trying my best to be kind to others. Just being, um, you know, just living the bulletproof lifestyle.
I like that.
We spoke with Takari Scott on the last show, and he alluded to living a similar kind of lifestyle where he really lives clean. And is he a friend of yours?
Yeah, Bakari is actually, you could almost call him a stable mate. We don't train together on the daily. We train together in most of my pre-camps, and we do a lot of sparring. His head coach is my assistant coach, Mustafa Meekin. So,
Okay.
so kind of, you know, Game Bread Boxing and Atlanta Grindhouse, Mustafa Boxing, we come together and kind of got a little family there. So, you know, we're at the gym all the time. Mustafa travels down, and you know, I leave Mustafa once we get a date, and you know, go with my head coach Jason. So, but you know, Jason helps Mustafa, Mustafa helps Jason, and it just works. You know,
That's great. Awesome.
yeah. Dakari and I used to spar back when we were both amateur, and man, ever since he got with Mustafa, that kid has grown and grown and grown. He's a star right here in Atlanta. So Mustafa was definitely good for him. So it's all good, man. He's like I guess he's like a brother to me. He's a really really close friend. So
Yeah, boxing's definitely a brotherhood like that, like you mentioned, and it's interesting when we talked to Dakar. We asked him how his Thanksgiving was, and he said he spent it with the guys from the gym. So
absolutely, yeah.
it's you guys, everybody's family, whether it's your coach, your trainer, your manager, your sparring partner, everybody's family. At the end of the day,
Mhm.
everyone's breaking bread together and having dinner. So it's one of the few sports out there where you can honestly say that it's a brotherhood.
Yeah.
So you just found out about your next fight. Could you tell us a little bit about location and time? And
Yeah, it's actually going to be in LA, the Staples Center, FS1. If it's TV, we'll get 8 rounds. If it's not on TV, we'll get 10. We're working on a brand new opponent right now. I had a guy, and actually his wife wouldn't let him fight because I guess they got kids and he got to be gone from the 22nd until after the fight. So his wife, I assume she works in his corner. I watched a couple films on him, and his wife was in his corner, so she wasn't having it. And you know how it is, and keep your wife happy. So
So that's on December 26th?
December 26th at the Staples Center. Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Just so you're aware, I will also be in LA on December 26th. So.
Hey, unfortunately, it's a closed environment because of this bubble. But,
I know.
Hey, listen, I love to come see you after the fight, man. They let me out. Hey, let's do it.
So
right on.
Yeah, no, LA's a cool place.
Yeah, I love it, man.
Now, where can our listeners and the fans find you? Instagram, website.
Yeah, Team Bulletproof everywhere. Team Bulletproof on Instagram. Team Bulletproof with 2 zeros on Twitter. Facebook, obviously, Team Bulletproof for Brandon Glanton. Google, find me anywhere. YouTube. So just type in the name and I'll pop up.
You have any shout outs you want to give? Any sponsors, anything like that?
Hey, shout out to the Fight Doctors. They are miracle workers. You know, to be able to do the things they do with my weight. Shout out to Pound for Pound, CBD, Dodge, Atlanta Mercedes, man, Body Symmetry, and the list goes on, man. Hawk Construction Company, Hawk Construction, Home Improvement. So this goes on. These guys come together and they help me do what I do on a daily basis. So I appreciate everybody.
Sounds like you got a big team in your corner. That's certainly going to help pushing you forward. Well, Brandon, we really appreciate the time tonight. This was a great conversation. Really enjoyed learning about your career and where you're hoping to go. So we wish you nothing but the best of luck, and you definitely got the Boxer Briefs podcast in your corner.
Most definitely. Hey, I appreciate you having me. We definitely plan on being champion in 2021. So
we look forward to having you back on the show, and hopefully you'll have a strap over your shoulder when you come back.
Hey, anytime, brother.
Appreciate it, Brandon. We'll be watching you on the 26th for sure.
Yes, sir. Check me out, man.
All right.
Blink.
Nope,
We won't. All right.
Hey,
Thank you
have a
again
good
for your
night.
time.
All right now.